Heroes and villains. We learn early on when we're kids, the good guys and the bad guys, and you play with your friends and somebody pretends to be the good guy, somebody pretends to be the bad guy, and you play out scenarios. And most of the time when we're kids, justice prevails and the good guy wins out in the end. We see it played out in television. We see it played out in movies. We see it played out in literature. We see it played out everywhere. It is a story as old as time, good and evil, righteous, and those who would seek to harm others. It's familiar from childhood all the way to courtrooms and the legal system, the criminal justice system in this country and around the world. And perhaps the two biggest stories going on right now in the news in this country involve a hero and a villain. And that in and of itself isn't necessarily something to be shocked by. What concerns me in 2024 in America is that we've got a lot of people in this country, and let's be honest, it is a particular problem of the left in recent years. They can't discern the good guys from the bad guys anymore, all too often. And it really is that simple. Luigi Mangione, 26-year-old from Baltimore, Maryland, apprehended after a McDonald's employee called the police because he had taken his mask down and the employee believed that they had identified him as the person who shot the CEO of United Healthcare dead on the street in Manhattan. A brazen assassination. We've all heard about it in the news. Luigi Mangione, 26 years old, a high school valedictorian, and a graduate of an Ivy League institution, the University of Pennsylvania, is going to be charged with this murder. Okay, well, that in and of itself, good. A murderer, alleged murderer, has been apprehended. You'd think it would be simple. Also, in New York, a story that relates to New York, Daniel Penny, the former United States Marine who acted to prevent a dangerous situation from escalating on the subway. Jordan Neely, who we hear about as a subway performer, came on to subway in New York threatening to kill people, said he was willing to die. Daniel Penny springing into action, placing him, restraining him in a chokehold. Jordan Neely, unfortunately, sadly, passed away, but people on that subway, many of them feared for their lives. An erratic, violent, threatening person that they did not know, a person that, as it turns out, has a history of mental illness and has a history that includes 42 arrests. Daniel Penny, acting quickly, restraining a man who posed a threat to the public, vilified in the media. Daniel Penny charged and taken to a trial that never should have taken place, found not guilty, thankfully, by a jury of his peers. Accused of being a white supremacist by some. Used as an example of white people being able to do whatever they want with people of color in this country, making him a figure, tying him basically to the Jim Crow South without a shred of common sense, without a shred of evidence that Daniel Penny was doing anything except acting to stop a deranged person from harming others, as if Jordan Neely's race had anything to do with what Daniel Penny did on that subway that day. Heroes and about the Daniel Penny verdict, and then we'll break it down.
If we do not want violence on our subways, and the point of our justice system is a level of accountability to prevent a person who does not have remorse about taking another person's life. I mean, even people who have engaged in manslaughter or have taken a life accidentally express remorse. And so the fact that a person may express no remorse indicates that there's a risk that it may happen again. And if we do not want to unleash that level of violence, then we should exert a level of accountability to prevent that from happening again.
Daniel Penny didn't exhibit remorse to listen to AOC tell it. I'm going to exhibit some remorse right now, and I'm going to exhibit remorse that AOC is that fucking stupid. Does she really believe that? She thinks that Daniel Penny is a threat to the American public. That Daniel Penny just went out looking for somebody to put in a chokehold that day. Daniel Penny had a situation that fell in his lap. And there were a lot of people on that subway that were damn glad that Daniel Penny chose to act. Because when you're in a situation where you're dealing with a person who is mentally unwell and threatening violence, someone needs to do something, and the bystander effect is real. The easiest thing in the world to do is to stand there and wait for someone else to do something. And it happens frequently. How many times have you seen a video of somebody getting beat up, somebody getting killed, somebody getting stabbed, whatever the case might be, and there's a bunch of people just sitting there observing it? Hell, in this day and age, what's the thing that we see so often? We see all of these fucked up videos. We see more fucked up stuff than ever in life today because everybody's carrying a video camera with them in 2024. And how many times have you heard somebody say, couldn't the person filming that have taken a moment to put their phone down and do something? Shouldn't they have been using their phone to try to get help at a minimum? But they're amateur videographers and they're more interested in sitting there and filming what happens than actually attempting to help somebody who might be in a life and death situation. As I've said, you better hope that there's a Daniel Penny around if you're ever in a situation where your life might be at stake. Because we're hearing so much now about Jordan Neely. He was a Michael Jackson impersonator. He had ambitions, this, that, the other. Look, when you're in that situation, you don't know the back history of the person who is threatening to kill people when you're in a scenario like that. Daniel Penny was not privy to the fact that this guy was a frustrated Michael Jackson impersonator. And the fact of the matter is he was deeply, deeply mentally unwell. Go back and look at the things that he's done. If you want to know who failed New York, it was the criminal justice system failed Jordan Neely. The mental health system in this country failed Jordan Neely. Daniel Penny did what he had to do, and I'm sure that he didn't enjoy 1 second of what happened. Heroes and villains. Luigi Mangione is being extolled by some. The governor of Pennsylvania, Josh Shapiro, cautioning people from trying to make some type of laudable figure out of Luigi Mangione. He says, in some dark corners, this killer is being hailed as a hero. Hear me on this. This is no hero. The real hero in this story is the person who called 911 at McDonald's. Murder is wrong. Is this really where we're at in this country? Murder is wrong. Yeah, the healthcare system in this country is fucked up in a lot of ways. I don't think there are a whole lot of us that are huge fans of insurance companies in general. Let's just be honest, right? Usually that we're not. But you can't go out in the world and start killing everybody that you associate with something that you don't like. because you're going to erode the very fabric of society itself if you do that. This takes me back to a lot of the pro-Hamas stuff that we saw after October 7th in Israel. Over 1,200 people killed in an invasion, and killed, not just killed, but killed in deeply personal, fucked up, vicious ways that are beyond the scope of what you would think a human being is capable of. And I won't even go into the details because some of them actually would induce nausea. And some of you know what I'm talking about. Things that no one should ever have to experience, that no parent should ever have to see happen to their child, that no one should ever have to see happen to their spouse or their parent. Disgusting, vile, the most evil shit that you can possibly think of happened when Hamas attacked Israel. And yet we had people out there saying that it was justified in some way because of past sins and past transgressions that have happened previously in history. Hey, listen, the history of the world is fucked up. You want to go back into history, you are going to find a deep, deep well of people warring and people doing terrible things to one another. And so if you want to selectively go back in history and find something really fucked up and then try to use it as an excuse for why you can do something evil today, you've lost your moral compass completely. Let's take Taylor Lorenz, for example. All right? Listen to what she had to say. She's on Piers Morgan's show, and she's talking about her reaction to the CEO, Brian Thompson, of United Healthcare being gunned down on the street like a dog and how it made her feel.
I do believe in the sanctity of life. And I think that's why I felt, along with so many other Americans, joy, unfortunately, because it feels like...
Serious?
I mean...
Joy in a man's execution?
Maybe not joy, but certainly not empathy. Because again,
we're watching the footage. How can this make you joyful? This guy's a husband,
Piers,
he's a father, and he's being gunned down in the middle of Manhattan. Why does that make you joyful?
Thousands of Americans that he murdered. So are the tens of thousands of Americans, innocent Americans, who died because greedy health insurance executives like this one push policies of denying care to the most vulnerable people.
I cannot overstate this. Taylor Lorenz is a sick fuck. Did you hear that? She said on national television that she took joy in the fucking mafia hit style assassination that a husband and father took on the streets of New York. Whether you like United Healthcare or not, whether you think that the decisions that he has made in executing his job were bad or not, that doesn't mean that he himself should be executed extrajudicially on the street right there in the middle of a city. Are you kidding me? Taylor Lorenz, your moral compass is so broken. Nobody should ever listen to anything that you have to say about anything ever again. Go to church, find a place of worship, check your soul, go talk to a priest, do something, because there's deeply, deeply something unwell and wrong with you. Taking joy in the cold-blooded murder of another human being is sick. And don't come back to me and say, well, but I didn't like the way he ran his company. Really? Really? That's the world that you want to live in, where you can excuse the absolute most despicable behavior because, well, I disagree with this or I disagree with that. The solution to societal problems is not to go around and create greater and more significant societal problems and break the law and harm people and maim people. I'm surprised that I have to sit here and say this. How could anybody listen to these people? But Daniel Penny, on the other hand, Daniel Penny is the bad guy, according to a lot of these folks. Heroes and villains. Listen, folks, if we can't establish a bright line distinction between going out and murdering somebody because you don't like their company and somebody coming onto a train and saying, I'm going to kill somebody and acting erratically, and then somebody springs in defense of the people who were on that subway. Believe me, the people that were riding that subway that day, there wasn't one of them that wanted to get on a subway and have some guy get on there and threaten to kill them. Believe me. Nobody wanted that, and Daniel Penny didn't want that either. So if you think Luigi Mangione's the good guy and you think that Daniel Penny's the bad guy, you're broken. You're broken. And not everybody is saying that by any means, but we're hearing it from enough people. And when you fit it into this broader worldview that we're seeing, this sort of original sin worldview, where if somebody else has done something bad enough, you see a faction on the left who wants to use it as an excuse to promulgate violence against other people. And that is the most dangerous sort of philosophy that could ever get a toehold in our culture. To say that because this thing happened, whatever it was, somebody got denied health care service. And believe me, it's true. Insurance companies, people get denied in all kinds of ways that are sad and terrible. And we do need reform of our health insurance in this country. But the solution is never to go out and kill people. This isn't the Wild West. You're not, Billy the Kid. So we've really got to get a rein on this. We've really got to check this in. There is a diseased element of the American left. I had people at my college, professors at my college, that I resigned from in order to take this job. I had professors at that college who were in agreement with Hamas. Faculty members with one at least with a poster up in his office saying from the river to the sea in the months after an atrocity that is so unspeakable that I literally will not get into any of the details of what happened. How much of this problem is higher education? Luigi Mangione, who had opportunities in life that a lot of people would dream of, valedictorian of his high school, Ivy League education. What did he learn in college? I'm not saying that college is solely responsible. I'm not saying that college activated him to go out and do this, but I am saying that a lot of these very bubbled little institutions of radical leftist thought are creating a generation of young people whose ethical, moral compasses are broken. And I do believe that in the broad scheme of things, I won't make a sweeping judgment on the case of Luigi Mangione individually, but I will tell you that culturally, there is a certain amount of culture rot that our colleges and universities are responsible for, or at least bear a significant amount of the responsibility for. There are a lot of kids who go to college and they end up coming out of there more ignorant than they were when they arrived. Yeah, they might have memorized some facts, but what about their worldview? What about how they saw justice? What about how they saw right and wrong? What about how they saw the country that they live in itself, where they graduate from college disliking America? You better believe that that's common. There are a lot of college students who get to wherever they're going, and on the day that they arrive, they're prouder of being an American, and they're more invested in our culture and tradition as a country and what we have held up as American ideals on the day that they get there than on the day that they leave. I can certainly tell you that. By the time I got to graduate school in the sociology department at the University of Louisville, I started to see the radical thought. It's there. And the people that are learning it, these young kids, they think that they're getting the truth. And instead, what they're being spoon-fed in many cases is very, very dangerous ideology that minimizes the value of human life under the pretense of trying to be good and virtuous. Daniel Penny's a hero. So was Joe Delaney, by the way. I'd like to, as I'm talking about heroes, to honor the memory today of Joe Delaney. Joe Delaney, some of you old heads will remember that he was a damn good running back in the NFL back in the early 1980s for the Kansas City Chiefs. And this is a tweet that I have sent out on a few occasions because I think Joe Delaney is worth remembering. He gave his life at the age of 24 trying to save two young boys from drowning. He didn't know how to swim. He saw two young boys who were drowning, and Joe Delaney didn't think about himself. Joe Delaney thought about those two strangers, those two kids, and he acted instinctively to try to lend them assistance and lost his life in the process. He was in his early 20s, 24 years old. Lost an NFL career, lost millions of dollars, lost every enjoyment that he was ever going to have in his life trying to help other people. And Daniel Penny could have had the same thing happen to him. Daniel Penny didn't know what he was getting into. He just knew that people needed help. And the thanks that Daniel Penny got was a trial and his reputation tarnished and being called a white supremacist. And we got people out here cheerleading Luigi Mangione as though he's striking some blow. Taylor Lorenz felt joy. There's your joy. Remember the Kamala Harris joy campaign? Maybe a campaign based around joy can't work when a wide swath of your base can only find joy in the most horrific circumstances that you could possibly imagine. Maybe you're finding your joy in the wrong place. Look in the mirror. Taylor Lorenz, really look in the mirror. Sick is what it is. Let me bring in now the international streaming star from Nashville, Tennessee, Ronnie T-shirts. I just find it to be a stark contrast, Ron, that we have these two people and you have some people that are going out of their way to villainize a guy who behaved very rationally and who tried to do the right thing, that it just on its face makes sense. You understand, he didn't go looking for trouble. And then some of the same people, Taylor Lorenz and others of that ilk, find joy in a father and a husband being gunned down on the sidewalk. Help me make it make sense, Ronnie.
Oh, I can't make it make sense, Ricky. There's so much to unpack here. I don't even know how to start, where to start. I don't know. Is there, guys in the studio, is there any way to show that Taylor Lorenz clip again? Because Ricky, what I found striking were you were talking about her words, and I was watching her face. And her face.
Let's run it back. Yeah.
And I want you to look at. I want you to look at Tommy. Again. I want you to look at, before he runs it back. Here's what I want you to pay attention to. Okay. I want you to not really listen to Taylor's words. I want you to look at the unadulterated joy and happiness on her face. Her face lit up like a little kid. And look at Tommy's face. Tommy's disgusted.
Yeah. All right. I mean, if you didn't know what she was talking about right now, you'd think she was doing a makeup tutorial or something that my kids watch.
Yeah,
is she talking about the same thing that everybody else is talking about? You got three people there with somber looks on their face that are worthy of the topic that they're talking about. Regardless of what somebody's opinion is, it's a topic that should be treated with gravity and seriousness. And look at her.
Did you see Tommy? Did you see Tommy just look down, closed her eyes, and shook her head a little bit? Like she's disgusted. She's absolutely disgusted.
Everything that you need to know about who that woman is as a person. You have failed the test of being a good human being. When you say she went on there and said that she took joy in it, it brightened her day. Can you imagine hearing that somebody that you don't even know, I'm sure she didn't know who Brian Thompson was, or I would imagine that she didn't. But she was like, oh, the head of an insurance company got assassinated on the street. Cool. That made her feel good because somebody somewhere got denied some treatment that they needed. But does she not realize that this wasn't his decision? They're just going to replace him with somebody else that's going to run a lot the same policies. Him dying does not solve anybody else's problem. Or is she in favor of like, okay, well, I guess the heads of insurance companies will do a better job going forward if they're afraid that when they walk out of their house, somebody's going to assassinate them?
She absolutely believes that. She absolutely
She thinks that it's a better world. She
Yeah.
thinks it's a better world if the people that she perceives as the bad guys have to get up and worry about their life and the lives of their loved ones every day. That's the world that, at least based on her statements, that's the world that Taylor Lorenz would have us live in. And it's sick. It's sick. Well, anybody who takes joy in the death of another innocent person is sick. You have failed the most basic test of humanity that there is. The simplest test of being able to discern right from wrong, Ron.
You know, to further make my point on what a heinous human being Taylor Lorenz is I want you to think about last week, 2 weeks ago, we showed a clip of Sunny having to read her legal notes, and you could just look at her face and you knew damn well she didn't believe a thing she was saying. She was saying it because she was told she had to, right? When you look at Taylor, a lot of times I believe that the people on the left, they just say things because it comes from their playbook. It fits the narrative that they're trying to get out there, whether they believe it or not. And in most cases, I actually don't think a lot of these people on the left believe what they're saying. I think they just think they have to say it because they're good soldiers. But she, when you looked at her face, when we ran that without sound, she believed every fucking word of it, dude. It made her so happy. She is heinous. She's an absolute freak. I mean, you know, she still wears masks. She just did a whole book signing thing where she was so proud of that she was making everybody wear masks and get COVID tests. And this was like last week. Like, she is a loose cannon. But like you said it the best. She's a sick fuck. We are right now in my household going through a battle with United Healthcare over claims being denied on Lori's back surgery this summer. And it's a pretty huge amount of money. I can tell you, Lori and I have never once thought to ourselves, you know what we should do? We should take out some executives at United Healthcare. No, we're just fighting it.
Nor did you take joy in the death of innocent person. And you can hold both of those thoughts at the same time. See, this is not hard. No. This is not hard. You can say, oh my gosh, I disagree. Maybe somebody disagrees with like everything that United Healthcare is doing. That's my insurer too. Okay. But if I get fucked over, you know, it doesn't mean that, well, you know, something bad needs to happen to somebody else. Right. What kind of twisted worldview is that you can justify doing the absolute worst things that you can imagine because, well, somebody else did this. This is like kids, right? Simplest things when children are being corrected. Like, Tommy, you know, did you hit your brother? Yes. Well, why did you hit him? Well, you know, he took my toy. Well, he took your toy and that's bad, but that doesn't justify you hitting him. You know, we learn this when we're a kid, and we've got grown adults, politicians, journalists out there running around. They don't know what's going on. Ron, you mentioned The View. The View, they're squabbling with each other now. They're so screwed up, they can't get along with one another. Let's take a look. Whoopi Goldberg and Anna Navarro squaring off over the matter of how freaked out they should be about the upcoming Trump administration.
to go. But I don't think that they can just go out and do what they want to do.
I told you last week,
legal ramifications.
No, wait, I told you last week I disagree with you when you say that. Because we have the luxury of saying that because we're legal, we are successful, we are. But if you're an illegal immigrant in this country, you're not going to be not in a panic. If you are a woman working for the Department of Defense, you have a right to be in a panic.
You tell people to stay fraught and like this.
I'm telling people to prepare, Whoopi. I'm telling people to prepare.
They are prepared.
So that means.
You ever play Monopoly with the family, and by the time it gets to like that third hour, like nobody wants to finish the game anymore.
So
They're
long,
just arguing with each other.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like that. That's what happens. Somebody flips the board over. I have here the 5 stages of Monopoly, Ron. 1, this will be fun.
True.
2, dude, are you cheating? Watch Tim. He's fucking cheating. That happens. You gotta love it when somebody starts to cheat at Monopoly. What time is it? Christ, it's been 3 hours.
Yep.
Please, God, somebody just win. I don't even care anymore. And then 5 is I hate all of you. The View is kind of going through their own 5 stages of Trump winning the election. And I think that they're getting close to the taking it out, just hating each other is kind of what's going on, Ron. Let's see what else we've got here. Have you seen Elon Musk? X is going to be rolling out apparently the best AI image generator that there has ever been. They call it the Aurora model, and I'm not sure if it is a part of Grok yet or not. I went in and I was testing out Grok, which is X's built-in AI, and I asked it, I said, give me a yacht rock album cover for a fictional artist. And it came back with, you may have seen the tweet, Ron. It came back with this guy, if we have him. Yeah, there you go. I wanted a yacht rock album cover, and now I'm bummed out that this is not a real person, Ron. Because I feel like I would want to explore his entire discography.
Well, here's what I
asked people for names. I said, name him. He deserves a name. And we had some pretty funny suggestions, including this guy that just updated it, turned it into an album cover. Look, if I found that in the bargain bin for like $1.99, you can bet that I would buy the Philip Element Experiences outstanding 1979 album, Love to Port. That is some smooth. I'm pretty sure the Yacht Rock playlist consultant would say that it's well over the Yacht Rock threshold there. Go ahead, Ron.
Here's my biggest fear with this Elon's new and improved AI photo generator, image generator. Are you going to get any work done ever again? Personal, professional? Like I could see you like just all day on this thing, just your mind and all the crazy stuff inside your head, just making your own album of hilarity.
I mean, get high at night, get the AI out, just start thinking of ideas. It could be wild. Dude, we live in a really strange time. We're living through this little brief window, and it's brief, where AI is kind of stupid and wonky. Like people have 6.5 fingers, and you see some AI generated stuff and it's pretty good, but then it's also terrible and we can laugh at it. Man, it is not going to take long. I mean, how long ago was it that like we weren't even thinking about AI at all? Okay, let's go a year or two into the future. AI is going to get so fucking good, so fast, and everybody's going to have access to it. I don't even know how we're going to disseminate information and have a public discourse that is not fraught with fraud and manipulation and stuff that has been done so well. Because now it's like you see AI, and I'm pretty good most of the time. 95% of the time I can spot it.
Yep.
And I'll be like, it doesn't look quite right to me. I think that's AI. It's going to get so good that you won't be able to do it anymore. When that happens, like, good luck. I heard Donald Trump say this. Well, I heard Nancy Pelosi say that. And who knows who said what, Ronnie, but artificial intelligence is a hell of a problem. I want to go to some sound that we have here. Bill Belichick, he was on Pat McAfee's show talking about it's at least, I don't know if it's posturing. We don't know what Bill is doing right here. It doesn't seem that the NFL to this point, that there's really a queue forming of teams that are interested in Bill Belichick. So he's been talking to North Carolina, and McAfee was asking him about this, and Bill expounded upon what perhaps a Bill Belichick-run college program might look like.
Let me put this in capital letters. If.
Yeah.
IF. If I was in a college program, the college program would be a pipeline to the NFL for the players that had the ability to play in the NFL. It would be a professional program, training, nutrition, scheme, coaching, techniques that would transfer to the NFL. It would be an NFL program at a college level and an education that would get the players ready for their career after football, whether that was the end of their college career or at the end of their pro career. But it would be, geared toward, developing the player, time management, discipline, structure, and all that. That would be life skills, regardless of whether they're in the NFL or in somewhere in business.
All right, Ron, I will say, first of all, I was immediately skeptical of the idea of Bill Belichick at the collegiate level. But I will say, that was a good answer. I liked that explanation. It makes me think, because college ain't what college used to be. It's basically becoming pro sports at the collegiate level. And that is a different animal than the college football that we grew up on. And I still don't know what it would be like with Bill Belichick as a 70-plus-year-old professional football coaching legend trying to relate to a locker room full of teenagers and guys in their early 20s. But the model that he described, it does make sense to me.
No. So I see two sides to this. If I had a son, I'd want him to go play there because I understand what percentage chance these guys have of actually playing in the NFL. So to be able to have my son molded that way and ready to hit the ground running when he enters the kind of the workforce when he's 22, that would be awesome. But if that model would work and it would help you win national championships in college, people would be doing it already. I don't think that model would work in college. And so I don't think UNC would be getting the even sniffs at national championships. And that's where I see a little bit of the disconnect. In theory, it sounds amazing and I'd want my kid to play there. But if I'm a fan of North Carolina, I wouldn't want it.
Caitlin Clark has been named Time's Athlete of the Year. To the extent, do we still care about Time magazine?
We don't.
It's not the 1970s or 80s anymore, but magazines are still out there. These things exist. We were talking about who is the Athlete of the Year, and you and I and Amber Harding, when she was on this program last week joining us, I think we all agreed the Athlete of the Year is Caitlin Clark just for the cultural impact alone. And so richly deserving, she has changed the way, I think, in some respects, the way that people are viewing women's sports, Ron.
She definitely deserves this award. Like, I don't even know if second place would be close, whoever that would have been.
It would have been Ohtani, I think. Shohei Ohtani going 50-50 and they win the World Series. Yeah. He's the only other athlete I could think of that really has an argument. I thought about it. Who would it be? It's not anybody from the NFL. It's not anybody from the NBA. It's not a hockey player. I don't think it's some international soccer star.
No.
Otani's the only argument, but Otani was incredible on the field. Caitlin Clark was incredible on the court, but Caitlin Clark tapped into something much deeper in the American vein. She just fascinates people in a way that only a handful of athletes who come along are able to kind of break out of the sports bubble, and their impact becomes bigger than that. You know, your grandma and grandpa have probably heard of Caitlin Clark, right? She has transcended sports. So congratulations to Caitlin Clark on that honor. Angel Reese is probably mad that it wasn't her, Ron.
You stole that from me.
You think she's upset? Sorry. You can find great apparel if you go to OutKick.com, because Christmas season is here and you can wear the OutKick brand. Yeah, that's right. We got Thursday night mowing league merchandise out there, all kinds of other great shit. Go to OutKick.com, holiday sale, use code HOLIDAY when you check out to get a nice healthy discount and improve your wardrobe at the same time. By God, that is a win-win if I have ever heard of one.
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.